There's a marketing disease sweeping the world today. It's called the Japanese disease, but nobody's talking about it. Instead, they're talking about all the problems facing America. America is losing out. How long will America lead the world? We're talking about high production costs. We're talking about outsourcing, the problems at General Motors and Ford. America is losing its grip. America is over the hill. The next economic superpower is going to be India, so says Time magazine, or maybe the next power is going to be China. Who knows? Who knows? Hey, remember Japan? Let's go back in history a little bit. Remember Japan? Japan was going to take over the world. 20 years ago, Japan was on top. The rising sun was going to roll over America, and it was going to be all over. Japan was going to be the world economic superpower. It didn't happen. Go just 10 years ago. Take a look at the share of world's manufacturing. The United States accounted for 22% of the world's manufacturing. Japan accounted for 21%, right behind. Now, today, it's 20 years later. The U.S. is still 22%. We haven't lost a bit. Japan, on the other hand, has fallen from 21% to 18%. Doesn't sound like much, but that's a drop of 15%. I mean, Japan today is an economy in trouble. Whatever happened to the Asian miracle, said Fortune magazine, Japan is falling behind. It's the Japanese disease. Look at the stock market. Go back in 1990. In the U.S., the Dow Jones was at 2,553, while in Japan, the Nikkei 225 was at 38,916. Now today, in America, the Dow Jones is not 2,000 something, it's 13,918. While in Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell from 38,000 to just 18,000. Now let me put these numbers in perspective. In 17 years, the Dow Jones is up 406%, while the Japanese stock market is down 54%. The Japanese disease. You know, there's two different philosophies in the world today. You might call Theory A versus Theory J. Now, Theory A is the American philosophy. Theory J is the Japanese philosophy. There is a difference. See, Theory A, America, is narrow and deep. Theory J, on the other hand, is broad and shallow. Let me give you an example. Take three American companies, Dell, Intel, and Microsoft. Dell primarily makes personal computers, PCs. Intel primarily makes chips, microprocessors. Microsoft, as the name suggests, is primarily a software company, dominates the personal computer software market on a worldwide basis. Now, all three of these companies are narrow and deep. Dell makes all kinds of PCs, Intel makes all kinds of chips, and Microsoft makes all kinds of software. Now, there's a company in Japan called Fujitsu. It's a Japanese company that makes personal computers, makes chips, makes software. They make them all. But because you make them all, you can't be deep in any one product. So as a company, Fujitsu is broad and shallow. Now, take a look at the sales of these four companies in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, Dell has had $309 billion in sales. Intel, 306. Microsoft, $275 billion. And Fujitsu's bigger than any one of these companies. Fujitsu had $418 billion in sales last year. But sales are not the mark of progress in marketing. What's the mark of progress is net profits. Dell, in the last 10 years, had net profits of $19.4 billion, or 6.3% of sales. Intel, $62 billion, or an incredible 20.3% of sales. And Microsoft, an unbelievable $83 billion, or 30% net profit after taxes. Now here's Fujitsu, a bigger company. How did Fujitsu do in the last 10 years? Hate to tell you, but they managed to lose $1.7 billion. Why is that? I'll tell you why. It's the product versus the brand. You don't make money building products. You make money building brands. That's the way you make money in the world today. Fujitsu doesn't have a product problem. Fujitsu has a branding problem. That's their problem. What's a Dell? If you ask the average person, they say, I know what's a Dell. It's a personal computer. What's an Intel? An Intel is a microchip, microprocessor. What's a Microsoft? A Microsoft is software, personal computer software. What's a Fujitsu? I don't know. Does anybody know what a Fujitsu is? I haven't got the vaguest idea. When you make everything, you don't build brands. You might make good products, but you don't build brands. Take the 6 largest consumer electronics companies in Japan. These are the 6 largest. Would you believe in the last 10 years, 4 of these 6 have lost money? Hitachi lost $4.6 billion. Sanyo lost $3.3 billion. Toshiba lost $1 billion. The only 2 companies that made money are Matsushita and Sony. Matsushita made 0.3%, almost nothing, net profit after taxes. And Sony, the best company on the list, only made 1.7% net profit after taxes. Hey, that kind of performance would get you fired as a CEO in America. Matter of fact, it did get the Japanese CEO fired. So Sony now is run by an Englishman, Howard Stringer. When a Japanese company is run by an Englishman, you know the Japanese company is in trouble. Japanese firms are strong. They got world-class production facilities. They got a highly intelligent workforce. They got a reputation for quality, which is just unbelievable. But they're weak at building brands. It's the Japanese disease. Don't let it catch you. It's called line extension. You can't stand for something if you put your name on everything. And this is Al Ries, and this is the Ries Report.